I'm sitting here with Gene Martin. He is our resident of the month for May. Gene, congratulations. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. First question, where and when were you born?
I was born May the 6th, 1921, at a farmhouse near Anson, Texas.
Gene, you are going to be 100 years old. And you are very, very handsome for 100 years old. Second question, tell us about your family.
Okay, I have family of 2 boys and 2 girls, and my wife, of course. We married on my wife's 19th birthday. I was 20, she became 19 that day. And then about 11 months later, we had our first child, which was Francis. And then about 2 years later, we had our second child, which was Bill. We named him William Eugene Martin after his dad, and we called him Bill. And what was the question?
How many grandchildren do you have?
Okay, we didn't get through with the family. We got Gerald. Gerald came along about 7 years later.
Oh, wow, that's a big gap.
We had teenagers twice in our family. We had the first 2 that everything went great, and then we had the second 2, and that included Paula, which was the youngest, and she was 3 years after Gerald, and all 3 of them are married. The 3 older ones are married, and my youngest was Paula. She never married. She worked at Tinkerfield. And should I mention anything about this other?
That's up to you.
Well, we had the great tragedy 10 years ago that Paula, our youngest, came home from work one day, and there was a man in her house waiting for her, unknown to her, and he chose to, his purpose was to rape. He raped for 3 hours, then he took her to the bathroom and held her face down in a tub of water till she strangled to death. And it was a horrible deal. We went through 3.5 years of trial, and finally he has life without parole in prison time.
We're so sorry for that, Gene. So sorry. Now, how many grandchildren do you have?
Grandchildren, we have 6 plus 2 adopted, makes a total of 8. And we have great-grandchildren, we have 13. And great-great-grandchildren, we had a total of 5 at the present time. We lost one. Tragic accident, one of the twins, and we're expecting another set of twins in a few months.
Wow.
So life goes on when people get old.
Yes, you have a big, wonderful family. Now, how long were you and Frida married for?
We married in September, and we had 73 years in 2015, September, and then she passed away in February of 2015.
73 years.
73 plus years.
That's wonderful. You guys should have a gold medal. That's great. I love that. Okay, the third question. What is your favorite part about being retired?
Well, one thing is sleep late of a morning. That's one of the best parts. I'm naturally a night person. I I just get going a good about 6 o'clock. I did all of my studies in the evening, and I went to work at 7 in the morning most of the time. And it's the freedom, and of course we like to travel. We did travel, domestic travel. Went to Israel one time, and we like camping out. Camping out was always
Good.
a lot of fun.
Good. Now, what did you do for a living?
For a living, I chose the electronic field when I was still in my high school. I started correspondence in electronics training, and I finished it. I graduated from high school in May of 1938, and I finished up my electronic training later that year. And in 1939, I didn't have a job. I was doing farm work mostly. And in January of 1940, I decided to go in business for myself.
Okay.
And I went in with an electrician. I was doing the electronics, he was doing the electrical housework. And then from that, there was a Western Auto Store put in a business there, and they wanted me to be their radio repairman. I accepted and moved in with them. Later, I became manager of the Western Auto Store, still a spring chicken. And then I went into seismograph work after that, the electronic work in that field, exploring for oil in Louisiana. And then I got my draft notice. I came back, I quit my job, came back to Anson, Texas to go to the military. And on my second experience exam, they found I had a heart murmur. And they turned me down for the draft. But one of the doctors says, don't worry about it. Says, I know a lot of people that had heart murmurs that lived to be 70 years old. So I think about that ever since I turned 70 a few years ago.
Well.
And I still got the heart murmur, and we're still going. And then after that, I applied for work in civil service and was hired at FAA as a electronic equipment maintenance technician. And I worked in Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. And I did maintenance on all of the facilities they had at that time. As the military bases began to close after World War II, FAA took over the communications of many of those bases, and we converted it to permanent facilities for FAA. FAA means Federal Aviation Administration.
Okay.
And I worked in that for about 13 years. And then the academy was built here at Will Rogers Field. They called it the Mike Maroney Aeronautical Center. And the FAA had what they called the Academy for Training New Technicians. And they asked me to become an instructor on training new technicians. We trained them in two ways. One way was retraining them because of a constant change in equipment. The equipment was being renewed every year of different parts, and we had to train all technicians to take care of the new equipment. And then we trained new technicians to supply the greater need that was there.
Okay.
And the last 20 years before my retirement, I spent as an instructor training both domestic and foreign students.
That's good. That's really, really good.
And I enjoyed teaching the students. We usually had classes of 20.
Good.
And we trained them from all different areas of large facilities, East Coast, West Coast, Chicago, O'Hare, wherever.
Good.
And then we had many students from China, Turkey, many of the foreign areas there.
Well, it seems like you were very, very busy.
Yes, very good.
Okay. What is your best part about living at Southwest Mansions?
Well, I enjoy the space here that I have in my room. It's about half again more than what I had before. It's a good low key. It's not. It fits me real well.
Good.
And it's close to my neighborhood where I spent 60 years.
Good.
We spent 60 years. My house was on 66 and Penn, South Penn. And I was familiar with this territory, so that's why I came back over here.
Good. I'm glad.
Also to be closer to my daughter.
Good. Okay. How long have you lived at the Southwest Mansions?
I moved here on November the 20th, 2020.
Good job. Thank you so much for having an interview with me. And thank you for being the resident for May. Congratulations.
You're welcome.